Why? Why did you have to be such a great game? Why did this have to be one of my personal favourite games? Why? Why did you have to be such an awesome fucking game? Why? You know what you've done? You've doomed me. You've doomed me to play everything with the Mass Effect title on it now. Fuck! Hi clan, it's WION here, and welcome to another WION review. Now this is a WION review that I stated a while ago that I probably would not do. And it is the WION review of Mass Effect 3's DLC Leviathan. Now, I have made my opinion on this quite apparent through many videos on what I think of Mass Effect 3 in general, especially, when it comes to the ending. But I'm not going to talk about the ending much. I'm here to talk about the DLC. Now, I was just sitting, couldn't sleep last night, and I just had a thought about that I owe it to the clan, and also to all of you who have supported me and all that, to review Leviathan. And I also owe it to myself, because I will happily admit, I was resisting very much not to play this DLC. I had to literally avoid everything about it, basically because if I'd seen a trailer for it, I would have been like, I want it. So I was avoiding everything involved with this DLC, basically. And then you know what happened? The release date came along, and it says that Leviathan was available on DLC on Xbox Live, and I went, must have it. This fucking game that saved my life, I owe it at least that. Why did you have to be so awesome? Why? Why did I pick you up? But I have played it, and I'm going to give my honest, fair review of Leviathan. I'm going to put my prejudice and my anger to the whole thing with Mass Effect 3 to the side, and I'm going to review the DLC and answer the question, is it worth it or not? Which is what WION stands for. So firstly, let's state the price of Leviathan. It is 800 Microsoft points. I'm thinking that's around about £10 or $10 on PC and PS3. And does the DLC merit that price tag? And I will avoid spoilers as much as I possibly can. I will give you a heads up if I'm going to mention any major spoilers. So we're 3 minutes in, let's get straight to it. So, for those that don't know what the Leviathan DLC is about, let me just explain. But if you're watching this, you probably know what it's about, and you just want to know whether or not it's worth the money. The Leviathan DLC, basically, in a nutshell, basically tells us where the Reapers came from. That is basically the DLC. That is the story of this DLC. There is a bit of a more complicated part of it, but I'd have to go into spoilers that I don't really want to do. But this is basically the DLC, as it tells you where the Reapers came from and also who created them. And I can't tell you who created them because it's a major spoiler, and I do not want to spoil it for anyone who has not played it. I will get into spoilers probably about halfway through this review, and I will give you a heads up when I do that, because I do have a lot to say on this subject. But let me get a misconception that was mistakenly, and probably purposely actually, put on IGN.com. Leviathan will not change the ending, I guarantee you that. All it does, it adds an extra dialogue scene with the Godchild. That is it. That is all. Nothing more, nothing less. So for all those that believe that they're going to get a new ending, you're not. The ending's there. The ending is there. Oh god, I hate that ending. Away, Mass Effect 3 ending prejudice. This is a fair review. Now, as for everything else, it is just a DLC. The average, I beat it in about, I'm going to say an hour and a half. You could probably get through it quicker, but I had to take a break in between just to get some food. It's a reasonable length DLC. It is not as I've made it apparent that a DLC for me to merit the price of 800 Microsoft point has to be at least about 2+ hours long. This DLC I beat in about an hour and a half, so but at the same time it also deals with the content of the DLC. Does the DLC have enough content to merit the price as well? Okay, I'm gonna have to state one thing. This DLC does have a decent amount of content, I'm not gonna lie. It does have not just one mission, it has several missions on different planets, and including one or two, including a very nice underwater scene, which most of us knew at the end of the DLC, which I'll get to later. It has enough variety to it, it adds enough story, it gives you enough missions to really merit the price. In fact, I think I beat it in either an hour and a half or 2 hours, give or take. Excuse me, I wasn't timing myself. So I'll say 2 hours. I'd say you could probably breeze through this DLC in about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, give or take. But it has a variety of puzzles to it, but also missions to it. It has a good amount of wee puzzles and all that, and missions to it, to add a bit of longevity. Like one of the major puzzles of the DLC is that you have to figure out which star system in the galaxy to go and search for a missing scientist, an artifact, and of course where Leviathan is. In the main place where you go, you have to basically, you get clues throughout the lab that you are in the Citadel, and you get clues to where possible to look, and you can narrow your search down to, I think it's about 3-star systems each time, which is very nice. I do enjoy that. It adds a little bit of a puzzle to it. And also adds a little bit more exploration if you're willing to look through all 5 systems in which the first one is. But if you narrow it down good enough, you can narrow it down to about 2 or 3 systems, which is very nice. I like that. I like that little puzzle thing. It made you think. It made you have a wee think about stuff. And it was really well done. I'll say that right now. As for the combat sections, it's the same. Sorry, it's the same combat system. However, I will say this one thing. The voice acting in this DLC is superb. I expect nothing less from BioWare. Even with Mass Effect 3's ending being absolute horseshit, the voice acting is still superb in this DLC. I loved it. Now, I took my romance tally with me on a few of the missions, and there is some very romantic dialogue between my Shepard and her. And it's very well done. It's very well done. It adds a little bit of flavour to it. Actually makes it seem a bit more realistic when you take your romance with you. So I would highly recommend you take your romance with you on all of the missions, because especially when it gets towards the end, they do show a lot of concern for you, which I think they've done it with Tally. I don't know if they've done it with the other romances. I'd hope they do it with the other romances. But here's hoping. Let me know if they did. Now, as I say, the content is the gameplay, it's a decent length DLC. For the price tag and the content that's in this DLC, I'm going to have to say the simple thing is that it's worth it. It's worth the price tag that it's asking for, but let me state who would love this DLC and who would despise this DLC. I don't do middle tweens. Now, if you're like me and you're a lore-holic, I mean, you love lore in video games. If you're like me, you read the books in video games. You read the codex entries. You listen to the codex entries. You read every single thing. You read the manuals. You read the back. Anytime a mission journal thing comes up, you take up and you read it. For those type of people like myself, this DLC, I have to say, is a must buy, unfortunately, because it explains so much about the Reapers, in my opinion. It gives their very detailed backstory of where they came from, and also who Harbinger is, which I'll get to a wee bit later. I'll get that towards the end of the review. And I never thought I'd see these words come out of my mouth, but if you are a lore-holic like me, you're going to love this DLC. It is absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. It really does answer a few questions that I'd have. People who are going to hate this DLC, people who aren't lore-holics, as I said, it's not that long. It's about 2 hours long, and if you don't like that kind of, if you're not really interested in the lore of the game, you just want action, you're going to hate this, because it really does go into a lot of the lore. There is a lot of dialogue as usual. I also don't know who would choose the action setting. For fuck's sake, BioWare, why did you put those 3 options? If I'm playing a role-playing game, I want to play the role-playing setting, so don't give me that fucking option. Don't make it easy for those fucking idiots who can't play a role-playing game. Sorry, that wee bit of tangent there. Now, as I say, that's my answer. The overall I can say is this DLC is worth the price it's asking for. It's decent length, it's got enough content, it's definitely lore, chunked full of lore, especially with the repels. And I'd have to say, if you're a big fan of Mass Effect like me, and you're doomed to get everything with the Mass Effect title on it, it's a must buy. I'm sorry, I really did not want to say that, but it's a must buy, and I'm glad. I don't think I wasted my money. In my opinion, this is, if I had to compare it to a DLC from Mass Effect 2, I would say it's more Overlord. It's got that dark tone to it, like Overlord did, which in my opinion, Overlord is actually my personal favourite DLC from Mass Effect 2. Even though Lair of the Shadow Broker was absolutely fantastic and I loved it, I still kind of prefer Overlord because it added a bit of variety to the gameplay and it was a bit more darker. I like that. And so this DLC is kind of like Overlord in a way. And I would definitely say that it's got that right tone to it. I'm just going to get a quick drink, 2 secs. But yeah, I'd say this is the Overlord DLC for Mass Effect 3 in my opinion, but it's Leviathan and it's pretty well done. From this point on, I would highly suggest that if you don't want to hear spoilers, go away. Because I'm going to have to talk about this, and I know I have to make a separate video. I'd rather just talk about it here, and since I don't have a limit on this, we're recording. Fuck it, I am going to talk about it here. If you do not want to hear spoilers, please leave now. I give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Are you still here? If you're still here, spoilers! Sorry if I bust anyone's eardrums. So, I know there's a lot of questions that people are going to ask me, like, what do I think of this? There's one question in particular that I have been asked a while ago. This was asked quite a while ago, just when Leviathan was announced. Like, do I think Leviathan would make me replay Mass Effect again? Here's my opinion on Leviathan overall as a fan of the series and a person who hates the ending, no matter how fucking excuse me, good you think the extended cut DLC is. The Leviathan DLC, for me, I am not going to replay it. I'm going to say that right now. Even though the DLC is absolutely fantastic, in my opinion, I expect no less from BioWare. They've redeemed themselves a little bit. I'm going to be perfectly honest. They've redeemed themselves a little bit, but they are still on thin ice with me. The DLC is good, it's fantastic, it's very well done, it answers a lot of the questions, but here's what I'm going to state. From the get-go, I have stated that Leviathan was was not meant to be DLC, it was meant to be in the game. And throughout the DLC, it made itself more apparent to me. With all the references to Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, there's even a reference to the Thorian if memory serves me. This DLC screams to me, I don't know why, it does to me that it was meant to be in the game. It was meant to be in the game from the start. I think BioWare wanted another year or two on Mass Effect 3 in my opinion, and they were rushed unfortunately, so they had to cut out Leviathan, but then release it as DLC. I'm going to be brutally honest here, I still think Leviathan was meant to be in the original game. I still state that Mass Effect 3 is an incomplete game. Even right now, even with Leviathan, there is still stuff missing, including a better ending, that I have to be apparent. And I don't know, from throughout the DLC, I just got this feeling that this was meant to be in the game from the start. This was meant to be in the original release of the game. There's no if, no buts, or what about it. In my opinion, this was meant to be in the game. It was not meant as a DLC. It just screams to me that they cut it out of the game and planned to release it as DLC. I don't know if this was EA's idea or BioWare. I personally think it was EA because they are money-grubbing whores. And I know, blah, 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 BioWare is EA, blah, 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 don't care. To me, the DLC just screams that. I don't know why, it just does. And just subtle references, subtle little clues and all that to me, and I don't think they're clues, but you know what I mean. That it just screams to me that it was meant to be in the game, and I made it apparent. I am fucking telling you the truth. That any DLC that comes out from Mass Effect 3, within, well, not any, there will be probably 1 or 2 DLCs, but the 2 main ones that have came out, Javik and Leviathan, were meant to be in the game from the start. It's bloody obvious. I don't care what you say. And that's just my opinion. Is that Javik, of course, he was announced way back last year. As soon as the collector's edition was announced, you were going to get that character. He was meant to be in the game from the start, and Leviathan is the same thing. I still think Leviathan was meant to be in the game from the start, just in my opinion. And that's just what the DLC screams to me. It has redeemed BioWare, but at the same time, it's also degraded their trust a little bit, in my opinion, because it just screams that it was meant to be in the game from the start. I don't know why, it just does, because the way that they played with the Leviathans and all that, it just kind of seemed that they were meant to be there at the final fight and were meant to have a massive role in the game, because for fuck's sake, they are the creators of the fucking Reapers, and they were DLC? No, it screams bloody. It's meant they were probably meant to be in the original game and have a larger role than just a fucking throwaway DLC. And it's a debatable whether or not this is a throwaway DLC or not. It kind of isn't, but it kind of is at the same time. It screams to me that, especially when you find out what Harbinger is, and if you've not completed it and you're still watching this, fuck off, because I'm going to spoil it right now. Harbinger is, obviously everyone knows this by now if you haven't guessed it, is the first Reaper. He is the one that basically started it all. He is the one that started the cycle. There is no... That is... What the fuck? Now, if you're a Mass Effect lore whore like me, you know this. You knew that obviously he was the fucking Reaper. But with the way that Leviathans described him and how they basically have the ability to indoctrinate people in a way more along the lines of controlling them for temporary amounts of time, and they've been watching basically, you're kind of like, yeah, you couldn't help us out a wee while back. And when you find out about Harbinger, you're just like, how do I have the funny fucking feeling that there was meant to be an epic battle between Leviathans and Reapers? I don't know, because the fucking Leviathans are massive. They're the size of fucking Reapers. For fuck's sake, if you can't say to me you do not want to see those two fight each other, you are fucking retarded. The DLC still screams to me that it was meant to be in the game from the start, because Leviathans are obviously meant to have a bigger fucking role than just, oh, they're there. And another thing, there are some new war assets that do the exact same and do jack fucking shit. However, I did notice something when I looked at my war assets again. My galactic readiness, even though it wasn't at max, it was full. Which I don't know if they've corrected that issue, that you don't need that anymore, but it's just kind of weird for me. I don't know if I doubt it. But just for me personally, even with all the new war assets, even the Leviathan, for fuck's sake, the Leviathans, sorry, there are more than one, are pointless still. The ending is still there. The extended cut, and I've made this apparent, in my honest opinion, I'll say it fucking again. If you want to know my full opinion, go and check my videos previously. The extended cut was good, but the ending's still shit. The ending is still horrible. And no DLC is going to fix that until it's a DLC that changes the fucking ending. And I'm not saying they should change the ending. I don't like the ending, okay? And even with the Leviathans in there, it still means jack fucking shit. It still, to me, is pointless to fight the rest of the game, to beat the rest of the game. Normally, after I get a DLC and I play it again, I complete the game again. But as soon as I was done Leviathan, I was like, turn off. Back to Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, I'm still in the middle of playing that. Don't worry, the review's coming in a month or two. Excuse me. But it's... Even with that, the DLC is still great, it's still fantastic, but still that ending's there. And even this DLC has not changed my opinion on the game as a whole. I still love the game, but at the same time I hate the game as well. It's a love-hate game for me. I love it for certain reasons, and I hate it for other reasons. Especially, mainly the ending and a couple other wee bits and bobs, which I could go into a whole hour-long video about. The DLC, Leviathan, all it does, adds a couple of missions, gives us the backstory of the Reapers, which is fucking awesome. I will literally say my jaw dropped when I found out about them. But in the end, it's still the same ending. There's nothing changed besides an extra bit of dialogue. So, I don't know what else I can say besides, even though I love the DLC, I enjoyed finding out about the Reapers, it still to me screams that EA or BioWare, whoever it was, just decided, let's cut bits out of the game and sell them as DLCs. The DLC to me screams that it was meant to be in the game because Mass Effect 3 was the end of the trilogy. And in my opinion, the end of the trilogy is where we're supposed to find out everything. We're meant to find out everything about our adversary, our enemy, the Reapers. Before Leviathan came along, we knew jack fucking shit where the Reapers came from. Jack shit! Jack shit. We knew jack shit. And then the DLC gets released, and now we know their whole fucking backstory. Which was an awesome scene when we found out about them, when Leviathan's talking to you. The underwater sequence was fantastic. I loved it. It's still shit. I'm sorry. Leviathan should have been in the game from the start, BioWare. Doubt any member of BioWare is going to watch this. I doubt it. You know what, fuck it. If you want, tweet this to them. Tweet them with hashtag meant to be in the game. For fuck's sake. It should, I don't know, like, it's like, I'm trying to think what trilogy did it best. The only one that pops in the mind is the Star Wars trilogy. The first Star Wars trilogy, not the prequels. Though the third and final, episode 6, was everything. It revealed everything. It told us everything that we needed to know throughout all 3 films, and then gave us a satisfactory ending before the special cuts and all that. Mass Effect 3 didn't. It didn't give us satisfaction. It didn't give me, well, me personally, it didn't give me the satisfaction I was looking for. The ending was horrible. It still is horrible. It cannot be salvaged. It's a shame that the trilogy has to end on that. Hopefully they'll make more Mass Effect games even better. And in my opinion, the third game is where we should have found out about Leviathan before a DLC. That should have been in the game from the very fucking start. In my opinion. That should have been in there from the beginning. Leviathan is a DLC that should have been in there from the beginning. I will state that from there, and it feels the exact same way. It feels like it should have been in there from the start. That is my opinion. And I honestly don't think anyone can disagree with me. If you want to disagree with me, go ahead. But this is my opinion. It just screams that it's meant to be in the game, and it's a shame because it still didn't change the game for me. It's still a better game for me, especially with the ending. And I know I can't, well, fuck up, I don't care. The DLC is still good. I would highly recommend it. I'd say if you're a lore-holic like me, or a lore whore, whatever you prefer, you're going to love this DLC because it answers a lot of questions. If you're a super geek like me, you'll love it. You'll love every minute of it. But at the same time, if you're a geek like me, you're going to be like me. You're going to be like, this should have been in the game from the start. There's no ifs, buts, or what about it. This should have been in the game from the start. Leviathans were meant to have a bigger part in the game. Were meant to have... I would not be surprised if they were meant to be a bigger part in the game initially. I would not be surprised if they were meant to be the mission before you went to Cerberus or something, or they were meant to be in the game from the very start, because that screams it to me, in my opinion. And I don't think anyone can disagree with me, but and then again, this is the internet, anyone can disagree with me. And I will admit, the Leviathans looked fantastic. I loved the look of the Leviathans. I was not expecting that. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I was expecting a Reaper. I was expecting just a Reaper, but when we found out it was actually the beings that created the Reapers, I will happily say my jaw dropped. I loved it. It was fantastic. I loved the lore. It's fucking brilliant. I loved it. I loved the underwater sequence. I loved the final little end bit, and I just loved watching that Reaper get turned off and fall into the water. I was just like, damn. We got some Leviathans on our hands, bitches. We're gonna win! No, we're not. We're still gonna fucking lose. Sorry, I'm still better. If the Leviathans could do that, I could not see any chance for the Reapers to win. Sorry, the Reapers, fuck, screwed. The Leviathans were meant to have a bigger role. They were meant to be in the game from the start. I'm saying that right now, and that's my opinion. Let me know what you... Right, so hopefully you enjoyed this review. I've ranted on for like 20 fucking minutes. But all I can say is let me know what you thought about Leviathan. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it... Bigger question. Did it salvage Mass Effect 3 for you? In my opinion, no. It's still shit. Mass Effect 3's last half hour or last 10 minutes the last 10 minutes with the endings, even with the extended cut there, is still shit. I'm sorry. I'm going to state right now, Leviathan is a great DLC. I definitely recommend it. It's worth the price in my opinion. But at the same time, it should have been in the game from the start. It actually screams that to me in my opinion. This is my opinion. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'm Scottish182 and thank you for all your support. Let me know what your thoughts are, whether they're positive or negative, down in the comment section down below. And as always, I'm Scottish182 and fuck you EA for ruining Mass Effect. Thank you and fuck you. Fuck you EA. EA, go fuck yourself. Bye. Ciao for now. Mwah.